Now, while most people who have recovered from COVID-19 experience symptoms that typically last for around 2 weeks for some, the road to recovery may be a little bit longer. We talk now to Jane Pillay, a survivor of what is known as long COVID. A very good afternoon to you, Ms. Pillay. Thank you so much for your time today. So, when did you get COVID-19? Was it with the first or second wave?
Hi there. Thank you for having me. I got COVID-19 in the peak of the second wave, which was in December, around the 18th of December.
And what were your symptoms? How did you find out that you had COVID?
Okay, so it's just been that I was feeling very fatigued, very tired. I've been getting headaches and so on. And I still didn't think, that it could have ever been COVID. And as the days went by, the symptoms started to pile on. And I ended up with a very severe fever. And immediately after that, I had this horrific cough. That was kind of echoing throughout the entire house. It was dry, it was miserable, it was painful. And how I found out that I had COVID was that I called a very close friend of mine, and I said to her, you know what, there's something seems to be wrong with me. I'm really, really not well. And I think when she heard my voice, she realized, yes, there is something seriously wrong. So she sent her daughter to my home. Her daughter is a doctor. When her daughter came home to check me out, she came with a rapid testing kit. And when she did the test on me, it came up as negative. So the daughter then was not satisfied that, you know what, Jane is absolutely so sick. The daughter suspects that it's COVID, and the rapid test is saying no, that it's negative. So she went back home to her mom and she said, Mom, there's something more seriously wrong with Jane. It's just not a normal flu, and I think we need to get the proper lab out there to go and test Jane again. So that very afternoon, and that was absolutely divine intervention by my friend, who acted so speedily, and she sent a lab to my home, and they came around 3:30 that evening, that afternoon, and they did the proper swab through the nose. And the next day, which was actually Christmas Eve, I got the results that I was COVID positive. But by that time, I was really, really very, very sick. It's a paranormal experience because you're not this body anymore. And, to tell you that I was actually walking naked in my bedroom, trying and running to my bathroom every so many minutes to wet a towel and wrap my body up so that I could get some relief. At the same time, something so seriously has been happening to me that I was actually kind of slipping away, and my oxygen levels were low at 80-something. The temperature was very high, and the cough was absolutely, absolutely destroying to my body. I had lost bladder control. I had severe pains in my chest, and it was just that I was slipping away at that time.
Was it ever an option or a consideration for you, Jane, to actually be taken to hospital because your symptoms sound really severe?
Okay, so let me tell you, when somebody has got severe COVID, you yourself don't know what's happening to you. You are in a paranormal state. You're kind of slipping away. It takes somebody else within your family to recognize there's something happening to you. And that was the case with me when my daughter made video phone calls to me to check how I was doing and realized that her mom is not normal. There's something going on with her mom. So what she did was she phoned a local hospital nearby and said, listen, my mom seems to be very, very sick. She can't breathe. Do you take outpatients? And the people at the hospital who spoke, they said, yes, of course, bring your mom along. And then I was taken to this hospital at about 4 o'clock that afternoon. And when they checked me and my vitals and they did a chest x-ray, they found out that I had severe COVID pneumonia. I was not a patient that they could send back home. So they tried to find me a bed and spent a couple of hours phoning various hospitals in Durban to try and find me a bed because they themselves didn't have a bed. And I'm talking about the peak when COVID was so bad and hospitals were full. There was no space. People were on a waiting list. And again, it was divine intervention that they found me a bed at a private hospital. And at 1 o'clock in the morning, I was transferred via Netcare ambulance to that hospital.
Now, Jane, talk us through how you were treated. What did you take? What did you do? And when you round that up, also how you're feeling now, because this was in December. It's, going on 3 months now?
Yeah. So I had like 65 days in total of this long COVID illness, because even when I came out of hospital, so going back to when I was admitted in hospital, I really had some good doctors. I had about 3 doctors working around me. One was a professor, 2 were specialists, and they did everything in their power, to get me well. I think they feared at times when they saw the oxygen level dropping, and wouldn't send me home. So I'd spent about 15 days in hospital on the first round. And then the oxygen started coming up, but they treat you with a lot of steroids. I was given over 115 injections on my stomach for blood clotting, because that's a very, very critical factor of why a lot of patients have passed on, because of the blood clots being lodged in the totally wrong place, as well as the oxygen plunging. And doctors can't really do anything to reverse that if that happens. So I'm very blessed and I'm very fortunate that I've had very good care. But what you find is, with the nursing staff, we do know that they are so overstretched, and I think the biggest thing they have is fear, and they're actually afraid to come near you. Because when I was in hospital and speaking to some of the nurses there, and the one nurse said to me, for this week, we've only got 4 of our permanent staff on duty. The others are all sick with COVID. They're at home. So the people that they've brought on are via agencies, and these are young and upcoming nurses that are still currently studying the trade and don't always know everything. So you found that when you were there, number one, nurses were too scared to come to you if you call them. They were very far away from you, rightfully so, and most times forget to give you the care that you need. My experience was that I wasn't getting my medication time to time, but I've passed that stage now. I'm here to tell the tale, and if I look back on them, I can understand the fears that they've had. So
Jane,
when I came out
Jane,
of...
I'll have to leave it at that for today, just because of time constraints. But thank you so much, Ms. Jane Pillay, for sharing your story and your first-person account of having gone through COVID-19. And as you say, you're very fortunate to have lived to tell the tale. That's Jane Pillay there.